Okay, so I'm here with Judith and Monica. Judith is the filmmaker for the film BX3M, and Monica is one of the actresses from the film. Congratulations, welcome to Berlin with your film BX3M. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lovely
Thanks
to meet
for
you.
having us.
You're more than welcome. Lovely to meet you.
Lovely to meet you too.
So what's it like working with Judith? No, we'll get on to that. Tell us about the film, please. Give me a synopsis.
Okay,
of the
I'll
film.
give you, try to condense this. It's it's a story in 3 parts.
Yeah.
It's the story of Maria,
Yeah.
Mona, and Michael. And they're teens growing up in the Bronx, and each one has a specific issue that they're confronting. Maria, it's like she's so in love with a boy, and maybe he's not right for her. Mona, it's a sexual identity issue, whether she's straight or gay. And then Michael, it's being stuck in the past, like some trauma that really keeps him from really functioning in the present. He's like very angry. And so those stories sort of intertwine, like Maria and Mona are best friends, and Michael is Maria's boyfriend. And so you see over, the stories are sort of, they look really sequential, but they actually intertwine and sort of fall back on each other. And for some reason, I mean, we just screened it about an hour ago, and it was like so moving. I mean, I started crying. I mean, I've seen this.
Oh my God, how many times have you seen it?
I've seen it a million times, and you know, I mean, when we screened it at the Smithsonian, people started crying. And one man actually walked out. He came by me, and he said, "Very good." He said, "Excuse me," and he walked out. He was crying. Then he came back, and he was still crying. And so it was like really.
That's lovely.
Intense. And Mona, Monica, who plays Mona, she really played her role so well and so compelling that part when she comes out to Maria is very moving. And I've seen people cry over just that one specific scene. And so, you know, you see their lives unfold, and ultimately the story is about, BX3M is about the freedom to love and be loved, and the search for that. I guess putting it in a nutshell.
Thank you. I mean, the film, the performances are quite intense. I mean, it's built to be that way, of course. How did the role come up, and what was the process for and also, you'd know the answer to this, was she the first choice, or did you see a slew of actresses? How did that all happen?
Well, we were casting all the characters early on, and then I had the idea of casting 2 actresses for the same role, which was the role of Mona. And it was sort of quoting Luis Buñuel in That Obscure Object of Desire, where he uses 2 actresses for the same role. He's one of my favorite directors.
You didn't have Salvador Dali sitting on the side waiting to paint the sets or anything?
No, he wasn't around, unfortunately.
Okay.
I'd have to like dig him out of his grave.
Okay.
But that's another movie, actually.
Yeah.
So then I wanted them to look sort of similar, and actually some people actually don't notice that they're different actresses. They think they're the same actress. But so Monica took on like the meteor parts of that role. And so it switches off. So, you know, because it's an identity issue, one is really involved in like more of sexual acts that are like gay, and then the other one's like sort of involved in acts that are more straight, but actually they sort of mix. So that it's not just like a black and white thing. And so Monica was cast early on as she played her role. When we found her, we just took her on immediately. There wasn't any question.
Did you find, I mean, was it quite tough to do the part? I mean, as I say, it's quite intense. The whole film's quite intense. It's meant to be quite intense, isn't it? But I don't know how you prepare for that. I've asked this question of actors and actresses before, and I suppose the thing that intrigues me most is actually less to do with the performance and more to do with how you switch off afterwards, because you know sometimes when you're doing, you know where this is leading, don't you? You know, because you don't want to live the part, but if the role is quite intense. You know, I wonder how you sort of shut the door and close the box and go home and just have a cup of tea and a beer or whatever you do. I don't know. I mean, obviously, but you know where I'm going. You know, you know. I mean, it's all, because I can use you as an example. You're behind the camera, and the person you are is the person you are. You know, as I am, and the person you are is the person you are. But when you're in front of the camera, it's not, is it? So how do you switch in and out of that?
I think with this particular role, that has never been my struggle, Mona's struggle. So maybe that would make it easier for me to let go of Mona.
Oh, right. That's interesting.
Because I can't say I've ever gone through anything like that.
Well, so that made it easier to switch off?
That's my theory, yeah. Because I've never really thought, and nobody has ever asked me that question.
You've never had a good interviewer, that's why.
Maybe.
I asked it to someone who was in this thriller, this really intense psychological, like serial killer role a couple of years ago, and that was really extreme. Not extreme, it was a brilliant film. And he said that they just like almost used like a book as a metaphor. They would just close the pages and close the box, and they would go home and they would literally, as they put the cup of tea on, and that was there as my day job, and I'd just forget about it.
Yeah, they're not method actors.
No.
Method actors sort of carry it with them.
Yeah.
It's a whole psychological prep. They carry that character throughout
24/7.
while that role is taking, while they're shooting or whatever, while they're playing that role, they stay with it. And that could create a lot of problems for people. But that's just like one style of acting, or one mode of preparation and acting. I think one of the challenges that Monica had, and I was concerned about her, was the love-making scene at the beginning, because the character who plays Sam, the woman who plays Sam, she had a very horrible cold. I don't know if you remember that. And I was saying, oh my God, Monica has to really, be so close to her. And, she had really the sniffles and everything. And I was just like worried about Monica during that time. But I think we're very happy with Monica's performance.
Well, and that's another thing, which I suppose we should touch on. When you are doing these intimate scenes, which God forbid I couldn't do, I know I couldn't do. Someone said, oh, you want to film scene, by the way? I was like, oh no, I couldn't do it. But of course, I know you knew about it because I'm sure you explained it in...
She read the...
of course, in minute detail. Of course you did, yeah.
I didn't just surprise you.
I know that. I know
take off your clothes and lie.
Yeah, I know. But I suppose, does it ever give you doubts having to do that? I mean, I know it has to be there and has to be part of the story, as long as it's done tastefully, of course. But even so, nevertheless, you've still got to do this role, and it's difficult. It can be difficult. I mean, I don't know, again, how you deal with that. Is it just something you think, well, as long as it's called for in the script and it's done tastefully, I don't have a problem with it? Or is it, whatever happens, it's going to be an awkward thing to do?
I think that, the few times that I've done this with this film and in other...
Yeah.
I've been able to get comfortable with the other person, thankfully. And so that's what makes it easy, because there's two of us in the same situation. We have, even if it's just the first day, we've been able to talk beforehand and get comfortable with each other, and then by the time the director says action, it's like, okay, so now we're working.
And then the broader context is that I really make sure, the director really has to make sure that there aren't any gawkers, that the people who are present are really involved in the actual shoot at that moment for that scene, and that no one else is
minimal
around.
crew kind of thing.
Yes,
Yeah,
and everyone's focused,
difference.
and everyone's really behaving in a very professional way. And so there's no laughter, and everyone's focused on their job and just getting through it. And it was a long shot. We kept a distance. Even with the lovemaking scene with the other Mona, we really kept it at a distance.
Yeah, so it's quite difficult. Not difficult, but it's not blurred, but I know where you're going.
Yeah, it's just distant, and then the lighting is really critical.
Yeah.
My thing is that lovemaking scenes, when they're directed by women are always different from when a man directs it.
Yeah.
A male director, and I'm sort of fascinated by that. I see it over and over again. I go, oh, that's a male, that's a guy directing. Oh, that's a woman directing. It's completely different.
Do you know, I watched Wonder Woman a couple of weeks ago, and I noticed that, because it was, I can't remember the woman's name, Patty, I can't remember her surname, but everyone knows the big thing is a woman directing woman. But it was interesting to watch it, is because I remember people saying she's not gratuitous in the way that she would stay on a particular part of the body where a male director would. And I watched that, and they were right.
Yeah.
It was directed differently.
Oh yeah, yeah. Not only that, if sports were covered by women, a camera crew that consists of mostly women, and a woman director, the sports would look different too.
Yeah, yeah. I was trying to imagine how
sports would look different completely when they're shooting men. It would look completely different.
Yeah, no, and I often wonder that when they do things like, I don't know, netball or what's beach volley, as I was saying, and of course the women are wearing, of course, they're out in the hot and they're wearing skimpy outfits. But you sometimes wonder when you're watching, you kind of, I don't know if it's necessary to shoot it this way. Or tennis is another one. That's and it's, as you say, mainly male cameraman. But I think you're probably right. I'm sure it would look completely different.
Sure. I'm pretty sure I'm right, actually.
Yeah,
I've noticed it because I've shot sports, and I realize I think this guy's cute. I'm shooting him, you know.
Okay, so do you watch your performance? Did you watch it back afterwards? Are you a believer in looking at yourself or not? For the whole, for the role, when the film was finished, did you look back and see yourself acting? And if you did, are you happy with it, the way you were?
Meaning, like when it was
the
screened?
whole film, yeah, the whole
Yes.
film, yeah. Because many actors and actors don't like watching themselves.
Yeah, I don't enjoy it.
Oh, you don't?
You don't? Oh.
I do, like I will watch, I do want to see it. When I come on, I tend to like start cringing and I don't enjoy it so much. I'm trying to learn to do it, but I do enjoy watching a whole final product because I know there were other people involved and I want to see the whole story.
Isn't it interesting? Because you think being in front of a camera, you'd be super...
And I enjoy being in front of the camera.
Yeah.
I love it, but then
watching yourself back. Isn't that... That's true.
Yeah, and actually, Jamie Sanchez, who was in The Wild Bunch and The Pawnbroker, I mean, he's an octogenarian at this point, but he's in an earlier film I did, and he's a top actor, and he still doesn't like to see himself. He's like 80 now, and he's just like, oh God, when they show the pawn, he just goes like, no, he walks out. I don't want to look at myself, and he's great.
Is that, I wonder, I'd like to know, is the reason, I know we won't dwell on this because you'll be super critical, or what's the reasoning behind it? Maybe you believe you can't actually act, and you think, if I look at myself, then the genie's out of the bottle.
I don't know. It's an awkward feeling. That's what I feel when I see myself. I don't know what it is actually.
And people, of course, perceive you differently from the way you perceive yourself.
Yeah, and I'm aware of that, which I think is a good thing. And so
I
realize, I realize that what I'm feeling and what I'm seeing is not what other people are. So I let it go. And then I enjoy the rest of the movie.
The Latino actor in the United States can move from speaking in English and speaking English perfectly, and then just move seamlessly into speaking Spanish perfectly. And they have this added dimension to their work, where they can go from, they're bicultural and they can move from one language to another, and I try to exploit that in scripts whenever I can, wherever it's relevant. And being from New York City, which is really a hub of transnational identities and languages, you'll have something like in my other film, The Crutch, they speak in English, Spanish, and in German. And it just creates this whole other texture to scenes and to the characters, because you realize they have these added dimensions to them. And it's
I'm actually seeing this picture genuinely. As you're saying, I've got this picture in my head.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And like, for instance, Jamie Sanchez plays Dr. Guzman in The Crutch, this other film I did. And he goes from speaking English, he speaks German to one of his patients because he's a psychoanalyst, and then he winds up going hysterical and speaking in Spanish, because the Spanish language and that Spanish identity is something that he's always suppressed in order to become successful. And so, you know, there's just like a million ways to exploit this and to deliver just different stories. And so it's something that I always enjoy developing in different writings. And most of my actors, all of them can speak Spanish fluently. And all of them can, you know, they're Americans, so they speak English perfectly, or the way Americans speak English. Maybe better, actually better than your like typical American.
Okay. I wouldn't say better than English. So
Better,
two countries separated by a common language, that they say, or something like that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so, are you fun on a set? And that sounds a bit of an odd question. Where I'm going with this is, you want to keep people buzzing and going and on a high, don't you? Maybe fun is the wrong word, but I suppose what I'm trying to get at is, how do you sort of keep people, you know, in the now and enjoying themselves and having I don't even say having fun. It sounds like you're all doing cartwheels around the set. I don't mean that, but you know where I'm going with this.
I think, well, my personal experience being on a set it's like being in heaven. I love directing. I love working with actors, even when they get pissy. It's just like a wonderful experience. It's like the best experience in the world. You're working with colleagues, with people who are all moving towards one goal, and they all want to deliver as great a performance, as skillful a performance and focused performance as they can. That's very exciting. That's unmatched. I mean, so I can only compare it to being in heaven. It's like, it's the only thing I'd rather be doing, really. It's better than sex. It's tops.
I'm getting into fucking
tops.
filmmaking, I'm telling you.
He's getting into fucking filmmaking.
No, I'm getting into filmmaking. So you had me it's better than sex.
Yeah, it is. It's like amazing with when you're working with talented people who are really focused, and everyone's focused on delivering a certain, I don't want to use the word product, but maybe, okay, I'll use a certain art.
Yeah, product's the wrong word, I think. Yeah.
I mean, that's the word we use in America a lot. It's a product. But so it's just like really exciting. And even when there are difficulties with the crew, you know, sometimes people get a little like edgy about different things, or when the actors do, or I myself maybe, but not really. The director has to maintain the focus ultimately, and suffer the slings and arrows, and go like, oh well, you know, it's part of the job. But then ultimately, that whole experience, there's nothing comparable for me anyway. It's like being in heaven.
I was talking to a filmmaker earlier, Randan Yang, and she's a Chinese filmmaker that's now studying on the West Coast, and she's coming up with a film, Magic Door short film. And almost verbatim, she said that. It's incredible. It's almost exactly the word what you just said. Yeah, she just said she can't. There's nothing for me to elaborate, to be honest with you, Judy. It's almost perfect, perfectly the same as she explained it. And she just said, I can't do it now, and I will not do anything else. I love it so much. I adore it. And I said, well, come on, there must be a downside. She said, no, not to me. Everything about it is perfect. And then, I don't know, we got onto it, I think it might have been off camera. She said, you know, I'm looking for a boyfriend, but I've come to the conclusion that he's got to be a producer, because if we're ever
that
together,
would be a perfect match.
because he has to travel with me. She said, because I'm not going to stop doing this.
Yeah.
Fair enough. That's it. Brilliant. Sorry about the camera.
Oh, thank you very much.
The camera malfunction, sorry.
No, it's fine. Yeah, it's fine.
Thank you. Lovely to meet you.
Sometimes, when you love somebody, you can overlook a lot of things that you normally wouldn't.
Don't.
Hey, Mona, Sam here. Just returning your call. If you want to go to the drag show, let me know. I'll leave a ticket for you. know the address. Hope you can make it. You've got to see these dykes.
Hey, faggot. What's going on?
I want you to be my girl. My woman.
I can't.
What's up, Michael?
Your mouth, Mona. Tell my woman my business.
Don't talk to Mona like that.
No, shut up.
You mean this shit? No, not this shit. This shit.